All right, welcome to Listen to Coach with myself, Coach Jake Doan, and it's brought to you by Show Muscle, Go Muscle Training and All Elite Fitness today. And the reason that is because today's guest in my first in-person interview is Harinder, aka Harry, who is also at Lifting with Harry on Instagram. He is the part owner of All Elite Fitness, and I'm very excited to share his interview with all of you right now. Now, I don't know which introduction you want. Do you want just Harry? Do we want to start with just Harry?
We can just go with Harry.
Go with Harry?
Yeah.
Okay. Harry, aka Lift with Harry.
Lifting with Harry.
Lifting with Harry.
Yes.
If you want to find him on Instagram. So Harry, in my realm, he's come into my life. He is the owner of where we are right now. Hold off though. We're going to talk a little bit about that later on. Okay. We're going to start so everyone could kind of get to know you a little bit better.
Okay.
So what I want to do is essentially we're just going to have this general chat about your kind of upbringing in sport. And I think we could start with, I think what a lot of people need is that initial push. So what was that initial push to get you into fitness? And then we'll talk a little bit more about, what you specialized in afterwards.
Okay. So with fitness, it actually started from my dad. Okay. So he did Olympic lifting back in India. So he always encouraged me to be active in sports. My mom also was a big part of it as well, but majority of it was my dad getting me into it.
That's awesome. So that's an easy transition for you to just immediately jump into Olympic lifting if that's what you wanted to do. Did you have any other choices, or was that just like it? You knew you wanted to get into Olympic lifting?
So first I played basketball, YMCA at a young age, and then I actually loved that sport more than Olympic lifting. But my dad, since it was his passion, he wanted me to try that. So I'm like, okay, you know what, I'll try it. And I didn't like it at all at first. Just learning the form technique, I just thought it was really difficult. But eventually, as time went on, it grew upon me, just trying to figure it out. And I got bribed too. So my dad, he had this tactic that if I went to the gym with him and stuck with it, I would get a McFlurry or a Tim Hortons ice cap. So that motivated me. And long story short, it actually grew a lot on me.
Yeah. So what age are we talking here? Because you weren't 19 getting a McFlurry, right?
No, it was 8 years old.
You started at 8?
Yes.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big thing for a lot of people to know about you is, even for myself, I started at 15. Mm-hmm. I mean, you had 7 years on me.
Yeah.
At that point in time. I think that's really amazing that considering how far your career has gone and where you are now.
Yeah.
So I think people having and understanding your foundation is super important. I think that knowing where you've come from is something that a lot of people don't consider when they're just looking at an individual, mm-hmm. right? They're not looking at all the hard work you've put in and all the time. Now, I'm aware, and I think that you should make everyone else aware at where your lifting career took you after that.
Yeah.
Because you did some things.
Yeah. First of all, the lifting career actually taught me a lot about discipline, hard work, and then it just translated over to personal training, right? So I actually started personal training a little bit at this.
I'm going to stop you.
Okay.
Don't give up on yourself and your story previously. I think you should tell people about how far you went in the Olympic lifting world.
Oh, okay. So
first, start there. We'll get to your career afterwards, but
yeah.
I want to know about your passion for lifting at first.
Okay. So it all started at a young age. It was actually learning the form first, but then training with a group of young individuals as well, and I saw that and I just wanted to be part of it, right? So I think that's where I kind of discovered my competitive drive as, hey, you know what, I can be with them, but at the same time, I feel like I can beat them too. So eventually, when I started getting into that, these tournaments came up, and my dad actually encouraged me to try a tournament. So one was like an open tournament, just for beginners. Did that, and I believe I came second. But for me, it's just like I wanted to win, and I think that's where the passion really came, and just like the drive of like I want to be the best at it. So going back into lab training and just following my coaches, I was like, this is what you need to do to be at the top. And then, yeah, eventually over time, I just put the work in and the time and everything, training 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, sometimes even 6, training with people even better than me. And as I started competing in BC tournaments, started doing really well, then eventually getting into nationals. And from there, even going in Pan Am Championships, World Juniors, just to highlight a few. And yeah, along the way, it really grew on me, and just even helped broke some records too along the way. And yeah, I mean, the sport's done a lot for me as far as shaping me to the individual I am today. But 20 years I put into that sport, and it's rewarded me a lot.
Yeah. Now you still hold a couple of records, do you not?
Yes, so the BC junior record, I still hold the snatch record, the clean and jerk record, and the total record in the weight class.
Yeah, I think we downplay that a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe we don't want to give you the credit, everyone around here, but I think it's an amazing feat that you still not only broke a record, set a record, but hold a record still. And it still stands. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So,
thank you. Appreciate it.
Don't let it. One pat on the back. That's one compliment I'll pay. Just kidding. So from there, essentially, what I think everybody wants to know is, with all that experience, was it immediate choice to just go into personal training, or did you have any sort of educational background, or anyone in that kind of area of your life that pushed you, whether it was a gym teacher or your parents push you in the direction of being a personal trainer, or did that just organically happen one day?
It just organically happened because from the beginning, in my teenage years, my mom always wanted me to pursue the career of like being a police officer or a border officer. So I kind of acted upon her wishes, and going to school doing criminology. After a while, I just thought, like, I don't think this is for me. Like, I didn't see the passion behind that. Yeah. And eventually, I was working at a gym, and people actually asked me for personal training just because of me doing Olympic lifting. And from there, I'm just like, you know what, like, I'll just give this a shot. And I started training a couple people, and they liked the results they got. So for me, it kind of brought me joy and passion, the fact that, hey, I'm helping someone with something, and I feel good with doing that with them. So I think organically it just started happening, and then the love for personal training came out of that.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So where was your first position as an actual personal trainer?
So that'd be at Steve Nash, Morgan Crossing. Currently, right now it's called Fitness World. So I started there at 2017, and just worked there for like 2 years, just learning a lot about personal training and the business sense of it as well too.
Awesome. Yeah. So you got a little bit of time under your belt as a personal trainer, and then COVID hit.
Yes.
Okay. Now, so this is where the story kind of, for me, externally, like, I know you and I know a little bit of the story, but I don't know the whole story of how it came to be. How did All Elite come to be from your perspective? I'm looking forward to having conversations with Brian and Gary, to see how it unfolds in their eyes. Yeah. But how, for Harry, how did that unfold?
So that's actually a story that I'll still remember till this day. It all started we got laid off during COVID, and I think everybody at that point, we're all locked up, and me just sitting there, I was at home, and it was at nighttime, and I was just thinking, like, what am I going to do after COVID, right? So I had two choices, and I remember this very clearly. There's a book one of my clients gave me to read way back, which I never really touched it, or I had this choice of playing PS4, right? So I don't know, for some reason in my mind, I'm just like, you know what, I'm just going to read this book. And that book was called Think and Grow Rich. And I'm like, hey, you know what, I'm just going to invest my time into this and just see what it's all about. And so I just started reading the book and just learning more about the principles behind of just having a clear mind and just a vision of what you really want to do in life, and just following these blueprints, the steps of how to get there. So I remember I was just like reading it, and I was thinking, okay, well, one, it says make a vision board, right? And just be clear of what you really want. So for me, I always had this kind of dream that I wanted to own a successful gym. And at that time, I didn't know what it would look like, but hey, I just did what the book said. I put it on my vision board, and it just taught me that, hey, every morning you want to look at it and just believe that you're going to be headed towards that path. Yeah. So I just went about my life, looked at my vision board every day, and then eventually me and Gary started working out in his garage during the COVID times. And one day, like, we were just talking, and the conversation of us having our own personal training studio came about, and then I'm like, it was like a sign for me. I was like, this is something that I've been looking for. Why not act upon it? So we were discussing how we would go about it, but one thing I did bring up was like, I want Brian to be on board with this too, just because the man's really smart, just with science, with personal training and everything. I thought he would be like a really good addition to our team, right? So long story short, like we us three formed. We had our Zoom calls and everything, and we tried getting other trainers on board too, and a few did join us on our venture. And we started looking for places like a warehouse just to run our facility. And there's a couple like that we looked at didn't really go our way as far as like would our clients come, that sort of nature, and doesn't make sense.
Which ended up probably be one of the best things that ever happened to you.
100%, because then it ended up at the Magnum warehouse where we are today, and just having that conversation with Marcus, just running the business plan of how it would look like for him and us, and just what the future would hold too, and just like the vision that we shared with him, and he just gave us a green light. And I remember this at 2020. It was at the top of the stairs. I was like looking across the parking lot, and I just had this vision. I'm like, this is what it's going to be going forward, just jam-packed with cars, and then just like-minded individuals just coming into our facility, just making this a great community. But just going back, I was just thinking it was because of that vision board, that book, that really started all. If I had to put the pieces together, that made this dream a reality.
Do you happen to know the author of that book?
Napoleon Hill.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just sir, might as well give the shout out while you can.
Napoleon Hill.
Yeah.
It's a good book. You got to read it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you had that vision laid out, and how many months in between kind of you have the conversation with Gary initially about starting a gym and potentially having a studio.
Yeah.
How many months was it from that conversation to the conversation with Marcus?
So I think I had that conversation with Gary on May, I believe, something like that. And then around July, that's when we actually had that conversation with Marcus. So in the middle of July 2020, that's when we actually came here, got the keys and everything. And Marcus was like, here you go. Like, wow. Yeah, so that's where it really started. And I remember it was me, Brian, Gary, and Wendy too. And we looked at this gym, and it's like, okay, we got some work to do as far as like rearranging a few things, but hey, we're gonna make this work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing. It's such I think it's such an amazing story, because had you not got that book from a client.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah. In my mind, there's so many things that shift that story, but that book from a client, an actual client, actually shifted your future in a crazy way. Literally.
And that book actually taught me too, is just like believe in that vision or whatever that you want to like believe in it. Because I think like through life, you're going to have like obstacles that's going to come up, and it can deter you from your path, right? Any negativity as well too. But as long as you believe in that vision, then these doors are just going to open up for you, and you just have to have that eye to see that and just take it, right? So, I mean, it's a little scary at first, just thinking like it's the unknown. You don't know what to expect, but as long as like you just keep marching forward, good things are just going to happen, right? So, I think it's such a funny thing that there's so many books
like self-help books, like business entrepreneur books. There's all this information on like the internet. It's just so easily accessible to everybody.
Yeah.
But we don't, well, not everybody, we don't take advantage of it.
Yeah.
As a society, even though that information is there. But this book, kind of set you in the right direction. I think that's really a great part of your story. So from there, that was July 2021, you said?
2020. Yeah.
2020.
Yeah, it was during COVID.
Okay.
Like the first year, yeah.
Yeah, so you actually started during COVID. Now, at that time, commercial gyms were closed.
Yeah.
And private studios were allowed to be open upon having a doctor's note and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, but you opened a gym amidst that.
Yeah.
And had clientele coming in here, and you were helping these people back from. Well, I think a lot of us at that time were dealing with a lot of depression and stuff like that.
Yeah.
What was the impact you saw in your clients at that time when they were coming in the door? How was the emotions getting back into the gym?
Oh man, I remember because like everyone was just like, man, we need a gym, we need to work out, and like most people or some people just had stuff like home gyms or something, but it wasn't really like the same as like going to a gym, getting a good workout, the environment, the energy and all that. So when our clients like started coming here and they just saw this place, one, they were like, where, like, how'd you guys find this place? But at the same time too, it's just, we can't wait to work out, and just having a space like this and just the people in it, it just made it that much even better. Because I think the biggest thing was for us is like the private exclusivity. Yeah. And a lot of our clients just enjoyed that aspect, as opposed to like going to a gym where like there's a lot of members and you have to wait for a machine and all that stuff. Yeah. But during COVID, for like a lot of our clients, it was just like, oh wow, we have something here, instead of just like, sitting at home not doing anything. Yeah. And I think it's like a big thing for like our gym, where it helped a lot with like mental health and everything, right? Absolutely. So it wasn't just like, okay, let me just go get a workout. A lot of people during that time just needed an outlet, and luckily we just had access to it, and just following like the protocols and everything, we made it happen for a lot of people.
That's amazing. So from there, and starting throughout COVID, I think that, well, I should say this. I think that I should touch on the fact that you said it, private and exclusive gym. Now I want to kind of go over what All Elite looks like for the most part here, because when I think of private studios, I think of small little strip mall, maybe one squat rack and a spin bike kind of situations. This is not that. Yeah. This is a exclusive facility, I like to say when I'm explaining it to clients or prospective clients, that it is a gym with well over, let's say, $600,000 worth of equipment.
I would say so, yeah.
And when we look at this place, we really downplay it in a sense, because you're not able to actually put a picture into someone's head unless you show them. So I think that when we go and we post this podcast, I think we're going to have to take a drone and like fly it through. Oh,
literally, yeah.
To just demo the area so that people could see what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So we'll shift our story back, because there's a couple things I want to touch on, and a couple of them are your history with lifting and Olympic lifters. Now, do you still communicate with your old teammates and stuff like that? Are any of them still lifting, or are you the last of the dying breed?
I would say I was the last of the dying breed, because, during our training time, life happens, right? So going to school, working and all that stuff. I would say I was like one of the last ones that put everything into it and left at, I guess, where it was pretty much over for me. As far as like, I have to transition into my next part of my life. As far as like, well, with weightlifting, it's not going to really pay the bills. As far as like, it's not, you don't get paid for it, right? Yeah. So it was more of like as a passion and a hobby, just doing it. But as far as like communicating with past team members, I It's like once in a while kind of thing. I mean, right now I'm very fortunate to have Onkar here,
Yeah.
and he's been my training partner since like teenage years, right? So it was cool just having him and just like even here, but just reminiscing about like the old times, right? So very fortunate to have that.
Yeah.
But I think everyone's like doing well in life as far as like not really communicating, but I from social media, from what I can see, like everyone's doing good.
You can see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to segue into Onkar because so you've brought Onkar in. Onkar is a physiotherapist
Yeah.
and an old teammate
Mm-hmm.
of yours, and I think that's really cool because, when I arrived, it was just personal trainers.
Yeah.
And we're really branching out, it seems, into being a full kind of service stop.
Yeah.
I'd love to see someday, like chiropractors being able to share that space with him, and
Yeah.
and having people like massage therapists and stuff like that in this building. I think that would be really cool to have like that full service, one-stop shop,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I think from there, I think the biggest thing is I want to kind of give those that don't have the opportunity, right? So our future personal trainers,
Mm-hmm.
the opportunity to kind of have some insight into your business model and how All Elite works. Because people are well aware that I'm the owner of Show Muscle, Go Muscle, and I'm subcontracted by All Elite. So
Yeah.
kind of go over that framework so that given the opportunity that there's a possibly a phenomenal personal trainer seeking a exclusive gym to work at, kind of just basically explain All Elite's like framework in that sense, if you don't mind, if that's
Yeah.
too
So
far
I'll
into it.
touch on it briefly. So what you mentioned as a subcontractor, so you're not really like an Ollie employee. You are just an independent contractor, meaning you rent a space from us. So you have two options, which is a part-time and a full-time. Part-time, we have this set amount that you pay each session, and at the end of the month, you just pay like the total amount for it. Full-time is you just pay like a one-time full-time rent, and anything after that, any clients you get, you profit more out of that. So I think it's pretty cool where you're in control of your business and you dictate the hours you want to work too. So you're not like told, hey, you have to work for 16 plus hours, like how it is in, I guess, corporate situations sometimes. And I think the best thing about this facility is you have the support and help from other trainers as well too. Because I think, like for me personally, I want to see everyone grow. And I treat this like as my second home, and I treat everyone like family, right? So if I can help other trainers just grow their business and offer advice in any way possible, then that's a win for me, right? So for any new trainers that are looking to grow their business or just kind of take it to the next level, I believe this is a place for it because one, I think we have like the personnel, and at the same time, we have this big facility. So
I think one of the nicest things about All Elite is that there's so many different niches, and we are very representative of that. We have people who specialize in kettlebells. We have like yourself with Olympic lifting, and I think that the more people we get in this door, the more information that comes with it.
yeah,
And I think it's such a beautiful thing that we can have all those methodologies in one place. That only benefits the clientele
Yeah.
that come through the door,
Yeah.
right? So I think that's really important to kind of pass on, that if there are clients that are wanting to come and need personal training or want personal training, they want to start off, or even if they don't have it made up in their mind that they want to yet, they just want to kind of get the mental framework in place to start.
yeah,
I think this is a great place because we do have quite the selection
yeah.
of personal trainers. What are we at now? Are we at 12 or 13 personal trainers?
Oh no, we're at 18.
18.
18 trainers, part-time, full-time included.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's crazy to think because like in the beginning we only had like maybe 5, 6,
Yeah.
and now 2.5 years later we're at that number. So yeah, we're growing and it's beautiful to see.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I think kind of the last thing that I want to touch on is the future for your company. And what do you see? Because you kind of see the market and how it's heading, where it seems like now personal training studios or companies are coaching coaches. Have you given any thought, because I know that it's not something we do right now, but have you given any thought to making that part of your model, that you coach coaches to be better coaches? Or is that something that is kind of in a distant future at this time?
I would say that's in a distant future, because my focus right now is just growing the brand of All Elite, and that's like I take things one thing at a time. But I mean, I wouldn't rule that out, because I feel like whatever I'm learning as of now would help someone else, right?
Yes.
So, I mean, if it comes up in the future and I feel like I'm capable of it and ready to do that, then for sure I'll do it. But as of right now, it's all about just growing this brand, this company, this studio, just helping everyone else around here.
That's awesome. Okay, well, I think that's it for today. Just funny to say, like, this is us signing off of... No, we don't have to go that far.
Oh, man.
But I do appreciate having you as my first in-person guest, right?
Yes.
I picked the boss. So I do want to say I really appreciate you coming on, taking the time to do this. And I really do hope that it gives a little bit of insight to some young entrepreneurs in the health and fitness world, that things can happen. And part of it is sometimes you just got to pick up a book.
Yeah.
Right?
That's what I did.
So, but I really thank you for sharing this message, man.
Appreciate you having me here, man. Thank you.
All right. If you've made it this far in the show, first off, I'd like to thank you. Secondly, I'd like to ask you one thing. And it's actually about like 8 different things, but with one intention, and that intention is support. I'd really appreciate it if you headed over to Spotify and followed the page. You can also give it your honest rating. I love feedback, positive or negative. It's only going to help me grow. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe. You can hit the bell to set your notifications. You can like or dislike the page, and leave a comment if there's a topic you'd like me to cover in the future. Just remember, train your mind, train your body, but always train with maximum effort.